Happy Thursday, everyone. I'm so glad that you have joined us for Pastor Chris's prayer points today. I have to tell you, I'm getting a little bit of cabin fever, being shut in with this ankle. But tomorrow I'm going to have surgery, so keep me in your prayers, and hopefully starting tomorrow I'm going to see healing. So I'm looking forward to that. But I want to just talk to you for just a bit about how your prayer times are coming along. Are you enjoying more time with Jesus since this all has started? Or have you found that it's even harder to get alone time with him? Tell me in the comments below. And if there's anything you're struggling with, please ask, because I'd love to help you. Now, when we were small, very young, my mother planted a garden, a vegetable garden behind the garage. Now, there wasn't a whole lot of space, but for us city kids, it was a real adventure. But my brother Rich, who was very young at the time, kept wanting to pull up the carrots. And we say, no, Rich, they're not ready yet. If you pull them up, they'll die and they won't be able to grow. Leave them in place so they can grow. Well, children are not the only ones who are a bit impatient. I think we all have a little problem with wanting things to be done now. I think that's why we have microwaves and we have things in our shelves in our kitchen that says instant on them. We want things and we want them done now. And I don't think there's anything really wrong with that unless it bleeds into our prayers. And that's when it becomes something of a problem. Now, the prophet Habakkuk probably speaks for all of us when he grew impatient waiting for the Lord in Habakkuk 1 and 2, when he said, "How long, Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen?" I can certainly identify with Habakkuk, because there are times when I want God to do something for me and I want him to do it now. Now, I don't actually say that. I wouldn't dare say that to God, but it's in my heart, and I think you know what I'm talking about. We call out to God, we pray about something, and we really want an answer right away. And sometimes, the desires of our heart take some time. Sometimes when God is most silent is when he's doing the most work. Now, Daniel had been praying for 3 weeks about a need, for 3 weeks. But we learn in chapter 10 that God had actually sent the answer the first day that he prayed. So don't think if you haven't received an answer yet that God's not at work doing something. He probably is, but some things take longer than others, partly because that God is working behind the scenes, and he's maneuvering people and maneuvering situations and moving them into place for your prayers to be answered. Because when he's dealing with people, he's dealing with their free will. So he can't just force them to do things. So sometimes the desires of our heart and what we're longing for and what we're praying about takes time because God is dealing with people. But sometimes the reason we don't get our answer right away is because of us. Because in Hebrews 10:36 it says, patient endurance is what you need now, so that you will continue to do God's will. Then you will receive all that he has promised. Now one day Jesus taught the apostles how they should be praying and how they should continue to pray and not to doubt. He taught them with this parable about a civil judge who was godless, who didn't care what anybody else thought. He didn't care about the opinions of others. And a widow kept coming to him saying, please avenge me, please take care of my need, please give me help against my oppressor. And she came day after day after day. Finally, this ungodly judge says, you know what, this woman's driving me crazy with her coming and coming and coming. And if I don't give her what she wants, I think she's going to drive me crazy. So I'm just going to rule in her favor so I don't have to deal with her anymore. Now Jesus said in verse 6 and 7, the Lord continued, did you hear what the ungodly judge said, that he would answer her persistent request? Don't you know that God, the true judge, will grant justice to all of his chosen ones who cry out to him night and day? He will pour out his Spirit upon them. The point of this parable is that we need to pray with persistence. We need to cry out day and night. Now, it's not a lack of faith. It's really just showing God that we really care about this and we really want his will in this situation. Because persistence isn't nagging God with whining and complaining or begging. That's not persistence. Persistence is declaring God's purposes over a situation until you see it happen. Or until God says, you can stop now. I've heard you. But either way, persistence is something we need to do in prayer. And we should not give up and we should not lose hope, just like Jesus said. Now, we prayed for my father to come back into relationship with God. I know I prayed for 50 years, my mother even longer. But in this last year, he started praying. He'd be walking down with his walker down the hall and talking, and my mother would say, What, Jim? And he'd say, oh, don't mind me, I'm just talking to Jesus. After 50 years, God answered prayers. So I'm challenging you today. Don't give up. Don't quit. Be persistent. Cry out to God day and night like his word tells us to do. Believing, knowing that he is going to answer your prayers and that he is a good, good Father. You have a good day today. Have a wonderful time with him, God, in prayer, and just keep on praying.